Have you ever felt trapped by guilt after something that's supposed to be completely natural? Something that you do in the privacy of your own space, yet it feels like there's an invisible weight tied to it. A weight that drags you down each time you think about it. You're not alone. For many, one of the most confusing and shame-filled aspects of life comes from something as natural as masturbation. It's not just about the act itself, it's the guilt, the shame, the internal struggle that follows, often rooted in religious teachings or societal expectations. If you've ever found yourself wondering why something that feels so personal and normal can feel so wrong, then you've probably wrestled with the same question many others have. How did I get here? The truth is, religious guilt around masturbation is deeply ingrained in the beliefs of countless people worldwide. From a young age, many are taught that the body, and especially its sexual functions, are something to be ashamed of. This guilt isn't just a passing feeling, it's something that sticks with you, festers, and over time, can deeply affect how you see yourself. It creates confusion, conflict, and often a crippling sense of shame. But here's the good news: you don't have to live with this weight forever. You can break free from that guilt, reclaim your peace of mind, and embrace a healthier, more compassionate relationship with your own body, without the shame. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand why this guilt exists, but you'll also learn how to let go of it once and for all. So if you're ready to finally shed the shame and reclaim your freedom, keep watching. This could be the start of a life-changing journey. When it comes to religious guilt surrounding masturbation, it's important to understand that the origins of this guilt are not as simple as a mere societal taboo. They go deeper than that. For many, it's rooted in belief systems that are centuries old, passed down through generations, and deeply ingrained in how we view morality, sexuality, and sin. If you've ever felt an overwhelming sense of guilt after masturbating, especially if you've been raised in a religious environment, you've probably felt like there's something inherently wrong with your body, your desires, or even yourself. The thing is, those feelings aren't simply coincidental. They are the result of specific teachings and cultural messages that have been shaped by both religion and history. At the heart of the issue is the belief in purity and sin. In many religious traditions, the human body is often viewed as something to be controlled, especially when it comes to sexual urges. Whether you grew up in a strict Christian household, a conservative Jewish community, or any other religious context, the message was probably clear. Sex is sacred and should be reserved for marriage, and anything outside of that context, anything self-directed, like masturbation, was often framed as sinful or impure. These teachings didn't just limit their scope to sexual acts, but also to how individuals were taught to feel about themselves and their desires. It wasn't just about controlling actions, it was about instilling guilt for even thinking about acting on natural biological impulses. Masturbation, specifically, has often been portrayed in religious circles as a moral failing, a sign of weakness, or impurity. It's often framed as a temptation to be resisted at all costs, with the promise of eternal reward for those who successfully suppress their urges. For many, masturbation is presented as something that distances them from God, and every act is a step further down a road that leads to shame, dishonor, and spiritual darkness. It's common to hear phrases like, "The body is a temple" in many religious communities. But the caveat here is that the temple must be pure at all times, and that includes refraining from any self-pleasure. This simple, yet pervasive idea has led to a culture of shame surrounding something that is, in fact, biologically natural. This isn't just about a person's sexual morality, it's a deeper question about how we view the body, sex, and even our personal autonomy. Growing up under the shadow of such teachings means that masturbation often comes with a cloud of guilt and fear. It's not just an act, but an emotional and spiritual battle. It can create a feeling of unworthiness, like you've violated some unspoken rule, and every time you give in to the temptation, you feel a little further removed from the good person you were taught to be. It's like a cycle, one that keeps feeding itself. Masturbation becomes something to be avoided, yet it is also something you feel compelled to do, and so the cycle of guilt, shame, and self-reproach spins endlessly. For many, this battle is compounded by the environment in which they grew up. Religious institutions and communities, especially those with strict codes of behavior, often placed heavy emphasis on personal purity, especially when it came to matters of sexuality. Growing up, you were probably taught that your sexuality was something dangerous, something to be hidden away. The idea of sexual purity and innocence was often linked to moral value, and so for many, any deviation from that purity, whether through masturbation or other sexual behaviors, was seen as a flaw in one's character, a sign of weakness or sinful behavior. What this created was a deeply ingrained sense of shame. Shame for having natural desires, shame for experiencing sexual pleasure, and shame for not living up to a religious ideal of purity. But here's the kicker. These teachings weren't based on any inherent truth. In fact, many religious texts, when taken in their proper historical and cultural context, don't directly address masturbation at all. Instead, they focus on broader themes of moral conduct, relationships, and spirituality. Over the years, religious leaders and scholars have interpreted these texts in ways that often reflected their own biases, cultural norms, and personal beliefs, contributing to the idea that masturbation was something inherently wrong. In fact, the Bible, which has been cited by many as the foundation of these beliefs, doesn't explicitly mention masturbation in any form. The concept of sin related to masturbation is often based on a broader moral framework and cultural interpretation, rather than direct scriptural evidence. Yet, despite the lack of specific references in religious texts, many religious communities have perpetuated these ideas, emphasizing the need to suppress sexual urges and encouraging people to feel guilty about their bodies. This has led to a situation where people, especially those raised in religious environments, can feel as though their natural bodily functions are inherently sinful or wrong. The guilt that arises from this conflict between natural impulses and religious doctrine can be paralyzing. It's a constant reminder that you're not living up to some ideal standard, and the shame can feel like an invisible, yet ever-present weight. Now, let's be clear. The issue here is not with faith itself or spirituality. Many religious teachings offer immense comfort, strength, and guidance to people. But when those teachings become twisted or misinterpreted, particularly in relation to something as natural as masturbation, the result is a cycle of guilt and shame that doesn't serve anyone's well-being. The first step in breaking free from this guilt is recognizing where it comes from and understanding that these feelings are rooted in man-made interpretations, not divine truths. Recognizing this distinction can be incredibly empowering, and it's the beginning of understanding that your body, your sexual expression, and your life choices are your own. Guilt can be a powerful force. It can consume your thoughts, influence your emotions, and shape the way you see the world and yourself. When it comes to religious guilt surrounding masturbation, this feeling isn't just a passing sensation. It can deeply affect your mental and emotional well-being. And as with any form of guilt, the longer it festers, the more damage it can do. The emotional toll of holding on to religious guilt is profound, and it often extends far beyond the act itself, leaving a trail of negative consequences that ripple through various aspects of your life. One of the most immediate effects of religious guilt surrounding masturbation is a profound sense of shame. This shame isn't just about the act of self-pleasure. It becomes a marker of your worth, your character, and your identity. You may start to see yourself as morally flawed or spiritually unworthy. This can make you feel like you're constantly living in a state of conflict, trying to reconcile your natural desires with the teachings you've internalized. It's like being at war with yourself, your body craving something natural and pleasurable, while your mind tells you that what you want is wrong, sinful, and shameful. The battle between the two can be exhausting, leaving you mentally and emotionally drained. This sense of shame doesn't just live inside your mind. It often spills over into your everyday life. People who carry deep guilt about masturbation may begin to avoid situations where they might be reminded of it, or they may feel constantly anxious or paranoid about being found out. This anxiety often leads to self-isolation, where the person feels they can't open up to anyone about their struggles because of the fear of judgment. Imagine carrying this burden in silence, day after day, unable to express what you're feeling, because you've been taught that your natural urges are not just wrong, but something to be hidden from the world. This internalized shame can make you feel disconnected from the people around you, and over time, this isolation can lead to further emotional distress. But the impact of guilt doesn't stop there. Studies have shown that chronic guilt can have serious repercussions on mental health, contributing to a range of psychological issues, including anxiety and depression. When guilt becomes a constant companion, It affects the way your brain processes emotions. You might start feeling a sense of dread or heaviness, even during moments when there's no immediate cause for distress. Your mind becomes preoccupied with the idea that you're doing something wrong, that you're somehow less than others, or that you're destined for some form of punishment or rejection. This can create an ongoing sense of unease that makes it difficult to enjoy life or feel at peace with yourself. Moreover, when guilt is tied to something as personal as masturbation, it can also start to erode your sense of self-worth. If you've been taught that you're a bad person for experiencing sexual desire or pleasure, it can be hard to maintain a healthy sense of self-esteem. You may begin to feel that you're not good enough, that you're fundamentally flawed, or that you don't deserve happiness or connection with others. Over time, this negative self-image can have a devastating impact on your emotional well-being, leading to feelings of unworthiness or a belief that you're not deserving of love, intimacy, or fulfilling relationships. This cycle of guilt, shame, and self-blame can also have physical effects. When you carry around constant emotional stress, your body responds. Chronic guilt is often linked to increased levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, which can interfere with sleep, digestion, and overall physical health. If you've ever felt tense or physically drained after wrestling with guilt, you've experienced the mind-body connection in action. When the mind is in a constant state of turmoil, the body follows suit, leading to fatigue, irritability, or even more serious health problems like high blood pressure or weakened immune function. In a sense, the emotional toll of guilt doesn't just take a mental toll. It can affect your body's ability to heal, regenerate, and stay healthy. In addition to anxiety and depression, religious guilt surrounding masturbation can lead to deeper issues like sexual dysfunction or a diminished ability to enjoy healthy sexual relationships. The mental block created by guilt can cause you to view your own body and sexual needs through a lens of negativity, making it hard to embrace your sexuality in a healthy way. This can interfere with intimacy, not just with yourself but also with others, leading to feelings of frustration or even shame in sexual encounters. When you believe that your natural desires are wrong, it can be difficult to see intimacy as something beautiful and natural, instead viewing it as something to be feared or avoided. For those who have been raised in particularly strict or conservative religious environments, the emotional damage of this guilt can sometimes lead to spiritual trauma. When you've been told over and over again that your body is a source of sin, that your sexual desires are something to be ashamed of, and that God is disappointed in you for simply being human, it can be difficult to reconcile your faith with your self-worth. The result is a feeling of disconnection from your spiritual life, a sense that you're unworthy of divine love or grace. Many people who struggle with this form of guilt find themselves in a constant state of spiritual crisis, wondering if they are truly loved, accepted, or forgiven by their higher power. It's a painful conflict to live with, and one that can be especially isolating when you feel you cannot talk to anyone about it. The emotional and psychological toll of religious guilt around masturbation is not something that happens overnight. It builds over time, often beginning in childhood and continuing into adulthood. The longer the guilt is allowed to go unaddressed, the more entrenched it becomes in your psyche, making it harder to escape from the cycle. But here's the thing, recognizing that this guilt is not inherent, that it is the result of societal, cultural, and religious teachings, is the first step toward healing. It's understanding that this guilt does not define you. It is not a reflection of who you truly are, but rather a distortion of your natural desires. Healing from this guilt requires a shift in perspective. It means learning to let go of the belief that your sexuality makes you a bad person. It means challenging the deeply held beliefs that have been passed down to you, and recognizing that they are not universal truths, but rather the result of centuries of interpretation, cultural bias, and often fear. It means understanding that your body is not something to be ashamed of, but something to be celebrated and respected. Your sexuality is part of who you are as a human being, and it's time to reclaim it without guilt, shame, or fear. As you work through these feelings, it's important to remember that this journey is not easy. It takes time, patience, and self-compassion. But by shedding the burden of guilt and learning to accept yourself as you are, you can reclaim your peace of mind, your self-worth, and your ability to live a fulfilling, authentic life. You deserve to live free of shame, and you have the power to break free from the emotional and psychological chains that have held you back for so long. It's time to release the guilt and embrace the person you are meant to be, guilt-free, whole, and truly at peace with yourself. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that masturbation is something shameful, unnatural, or wrong. After all, many of us are taught from a young age that our sexual desires are to be suppressed, and that acts like masturbation are something we should feel guilty about. But what if the truth is that masturbation is not just a normal part of human life, but also an essential part of our mental, emotional, and physical well-being? The reality is that masturbation is a completely natural, healthy behavior with numerous benefits, both for our minds and our bodies. Yet for many people, these benefits are clouded by guilt and shame, making it harder to fully appreciate this natural part of life. First, let's address the science behind masturbation. Our bodies are designed to experience pleasure, and sexual pleasure, including through masturbation, has been shown to be incredibly beneficial for both men and women. When we masturbate, our bodies release endorphins, the feel-good hormones that improve our mood and reduce stress. Endorphins are our natural painkillers, and they can help elevate our mood, making us feel relaxed and content. This release of endorphins is one of the reasons why people often feel more at ease after masturbating. It's not just about physical pleasure, it's about creating a sense of calm and well-being in our minds. Additionally, masturbation can provide significant stress relief. In today's world, where anxiety and stress are more prevalent than ever, finding ways to unwind and relax is essential. Masturbation is one such method, as it helps release built-up tension in the body and mind. When you engage in self-pleasure, your body enters a state of relaxation, which can help reduce levels of cortisol, the hormone responsible for stress. This simple act can offer a reprieve from the pressures of daily life, allowing you to reset mentally and emotionally. In fact, many people find that after masturbating, they are able to approach their daily challenges with a clearer mind and more emotional stability. Masturbation also contributes to better sleep. If you've ever struggled with falling asleep or staying asleep, you might be surprised to learn that masturbation can play a crucial role in helping you get a more restful night's sleep. The release of hormones like oxytocin and prolactin during orgasm can have a calming effect on the body, leading to deeper, more restorative sleep. In fact, studies have shown that individuals who engage in regular masturbation are less likely to suffer from insomnia or sleep disturbances, as the act of self-pleasure helps relax both the body and mind, making it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep throughout the night. Beyond the mental and emotional benefits, masturbation is also linked to a range of physical health benefits. One of the most notable advantages is its role in sexual health. For men, regular masturbation can help maintain prostate health by promoting the release of toxins that may otherwise accumulate in the body. For women, masturbation helps improve pelvic floor strength and can aid in the relief of menstrual cramps. It also supports overall reproductive health by helping to regulate the menstrual cycle. Regular self-pleasure can also improve blood circulation, which is beneficial for cardiovascular health. Masturbation is also closely tied to self-exploration and sexual empowerment. When you masturbate, you learn about your own body, what feels good, what doesn't, and what brings you pleasure. This knowledge is vital for healthy sexual relationships, as it allows you to communicate your needs and desires with a partner more effectively. The more you understand your body, the more confident you become in expressing your sexuality in a way that feels comfortable and authentic to you. Rather than viewing masturbation as something shameful, think of it as a form of self-care and self-awareness, a way of tuning into your body and honoring your own needs. Yet, despite these benefits, many people still feel conflicted about masturbation, largely due to the shame and guilt ingrained in their belief systems. This is where the issue becomes more complex. How can something that's so beneficial be so misunderstood and even vilified? The answer lies in the societal and religious conditioning we've experienced. If we were taught that our desires are wrong, then every act that stems from those desires feels like an offense. But this view is based on cultural and religious interpretations that do not align with the natural functioning of the human body. In reality, masturbation is a healthy, normal expression of human sexuality that has been practiced by people across all cultures and religions throughout history. Breaking free from the shame associated with masturbation requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing it as something to hide or feel bad about, it's important to recognize that masturbation is just another way your body expresses itself. It's an integral part of your overall sexual health, and when done in moderation, it's no different from other forms of self-care that contribute to your well-being. The key is to reframe your thoughts, understand the natural benefits of self-pleasure, and embrace it as part of a holistic approach to maintaining your physical and emotional health. The road to accepting masturbation without guilt involves re-educating yourself, challenging the beliefs that were imposed on you, and embracing the idea that sexual pleasure is a natural and healthy part of life. This doesn't mean disregarding your religious or spiritual beliefs. It simply means recognizing that your natural desires are not inherently sinful or shameful. Embracing masturbation as a healthy form of self-expression doesn't diminish your faith or your character. It enhances your understanding of your own body and brings you closer to a place of self-acceptance. It's important to realize that accepting your sexuality in all its forms, including masturbation, is an act of self-love and self-respect. By freeing yourself from the shame and guilt that have been imposed on you, you are taking a vital step toward healing and empowerment. Understanding the natural benefits of masturbation is a powerful tool in this process. It's a way to take back control over your body, your desires, and your mental and emotional health, and to live without the unnecessary burden of shame. Ultimately, masturbation is not a harmful or sinful act. It is a healthy, normal, and natural part of human life that contributes to our overall well-being. By understanding and accepting the benefits of masturbation, you can begin to break free from the guilt and shame that has held you back, and start living a more authentic, empowered, and peaceful life. For many, the guilt surrounding masturbation doesn't just come from a personal sense of shame. It's deeply intertwined with the religious teachings they've internalized throughout their lives. These teachings often present masturbation as a sin, an immoral act that distances you from God or divine purity. The shame that stems from these beliefs can feel insurmountable, but here's the key. This guilt is based on interpretations of faith, not on any inherent truth about who you are or what your body is meant to do. The first step toward freeing yourself from this guilt is understanding that religious beliefs about masturbation are not universal truths. They are cultural interpretations that have evolved over centuries. By unpacking and confronting these beliefs, you can begin to challenge the guilt and take back control over your relationship with your body and your faith. One of the most powerful ways to challenge the shame surrounding masturbation is to critically engage with the religious beliefs that fuel it. It's essential to recognize that religious texts, when taken in their proper historical and cultural context, don't directly condemn masturbation. In fact, many of the references used to prove that masturbation is wrong are based on interpretations and extrapolations, not clear and unequivocal teachings. In Christianity, for example, there is no direct reference to masturbation in the Bible. The concept of sin surrounding masturbation often comes from broader discussions of lust, desire, and sexual purity. The issue arises when people interpret these passages to include masturbation as inherently sinful, something that is not explicitly supported by the texts themselves. To confront this, you need to look at the ways in which your faith or religious tradition has shaped your beliefs about sexuality. Take a step back and consider the cultural context in which these teachings were developed. Many religious perspectives on sexuality, including masturbation, were shaped by the norms and values of ancient societies that viewed human sexuality through a very narrow, restrictive lens. These views were influenced by the need to regulate behavior, control reproduction, and promote societal stability. The focus on sexual purity and sin was in part an effort to maintain social order and control over individuals. However, these ideas may no longer serve the individual in the same way today. You don't have to discard your faith entirely to question the role it plays in shaping your views on sexuality. In fact, many spiritual paths encourage questioning and self-exploration as a means of deepening your understanding and connection to your beliefs. Once you recognize that these beliefs may be rooted in cultural context rather than divine command, you can begin to challenge them. One of the most effective ways to do this is through reflection. Take time to meditate, journal, or pray about how these beliefs have affected your life. Think about how they've shaped the way you view yourself, your body, and your sexuality. Have they made you feel ashamed of something that is a natural part of being human? Have they caused you emotional pain or self-loathing? By acknowledging the emotional and psychological toll of these teachings, you can begin to understand that the guilt is not yours to carry. It was given to you often unknowingly through external influences, not by your own inherent nature or spiritual connection. At this point, it's crucial to separate your personal connection to your faith from the guilt that has been imposed on you. Spirituality, in its true essence, is about connection, peace, and love, not about judgment, condemnation, or fear. Masturbation, when understood as a natural expression of your sexuality, doesn't need to conflict with your faith. In fact, embracing your sexuality can enhance your sense of self and spiritual growth. Masturbation can be seen as an act of self-love, self-care, and a way of connecting with your body in a respectful and positive way. When you remove the layers of guilt and shame, you can begin to see masturbation for what it truly is, a normal, healthy activity that has nothing to do with sin or moral failure. One helpful tool in this process is to explore alternative religious perspectives. Many people are surprised to learn that not all religious traditions view masturbation as sinful or immoral. In fact, some faiths embrace a more holistic approach to sexuality, viewing it as a gift that is to be enjoyed in a variety of ways. By exploring different spiritual perspectives, you can expand your understanding and find a framework that aligns with both your faith and your sense of self. This doesn't mean abandoning the faith you were raised with, but it does mean finding a path that allows you to embrace your sexuality without shame. Therapy and counseling can also be invaluable in this process of unpacking guilt and challenging religious beliefs. Speaking with a therapist who specializes in sexual health or spiritual counseling can help you understand the deeper psychological and emotional layers of your guilt. A therapist can help you work through the confusion and self-doubt that often accompanies religious shame and assist you in developing a healthier, more compassionate relationship with your sexuality. Therapy can also provide you with practical tools for managing guilt, such as cognitive behavioral techniques that challenge negative thought patterns and encourage self-compassion. It's also important to remember that this process of unpacking and challenging guilt is ongoing. Overcoming religious guilt doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey of self-discovery, reflection, and growth. There will be moments when the old beliefs resurface, and you might find yourself struggling with guilt again. But that's okay. Healing is not linear, and setbacks are a natural part of the process. What matters is that you are actively working to challenge these beliefs and make space for a healthier, more positive relationship with yourself. The key to breaking free from the shame and guilt surrounding masturbation is to recognize that you have the power to redefine your relationship with both your sexuality and your faith. You are not bound by rigid interpretations of religious doctrine, especially when those interpretations cause harm or disconnect you from your authentic self. By unpacking the shame, critically examining the beliefs you've internalized, and creating space for self-acceptance and healing, you can finally break free from the cycle of guilt and embrace a more loving and empowered relationship with your body and your faith. In the end, challenging these beliefs is not about rejecting your faith or spirituality. It's about reclaiming your body and your mind from the shame that was unfairly imposed on you. By embracing your sexuality, you can find peace, joy, and freedom without the burden of guilt. Remember, you deserve to experience your body and your desires with love, acceptance, and self-compassion. It's time to break free from the guilt and live a life that honors both your spirituality and your true self. Breaking free from religious guilt surrounding masturbation is not a one-time event. It's a process that requires self-compassion, patience, and an active commitment to healing. It involves rethinking how you see your body, your sexuality, and your self-worth. One of the most powerful ways to confront guilt is to cultivate self-acceptance and discover healthy alternatives that allow you to explore your sexuality without shame. This isn't just about removing guilt, it's about rebuilding a positive, empowered relationship with yourself and your desires, one that is rooted in self-love and respect. First and foremost, it's important to acknowledge that self-acceptance is the cornerstone of any lasting change. Self-acceptance means embracing all parts of yourself, including your sexuality, without judgment or shame. This can feel like a monumental shift, especially if you've been taught to view your natural desires as inherently wrong. However, learning to accept and love yourself, including your sexual identity, is one of the most liberating and healing things you can do for your emotional and mental well-being. It's about recognizing that your sexuality doesn't define your worth as a person. You are not bad, sinful, or flawed for experiencing sexual desires. You are human, and being human means experiencing the full spectrum of emotions, desires, and needs. One of the first steps towards self-acceptance is acknowledging that guilt, fear, and shame have no place in your life. These emotions are not natural to your body or spirit. They have been imposed on you through external influences. When you begin to recognize that guilt is a learned response, rather than an inherent truth, it becomes easier to release it. You can start by simply telling yourself, I am not guilty for being human. My body and my desires are not things to be ashamed of. This affirmation might feel uncomfortable at first, but with practice, it will help you begin to shift your mindset. It's also essential to give yourself permission to explore your sexuality in a healthy, self-affirming way. This exploration doesn't mean giving in to every impulse or indulging in shameful behaviors. Rather, it's about connecting with your body and understanding what feels good in a way that honors your self-worth. Masturbation, when approached with mindfulness and self-compassion, can be a beautiful act of self-care. It's an opportunity to listen to your body, to understand your desires, and to practice self-love. Rather than seeing it as something shameful, try to view it as a form of self-exploration, an opportunity to honor your own needs and find pleasure in a way that feels good for you. This self-exploration is part of a larger process of reclaiming your body from shame. When you've internalized years of guilt and fear, it can be hard to see your body as a source of joy and pleasure. But the truth is, your body is meant to be celebrated and cared for, not condemned. Masturbation is a healthy, normal way to connect with your body, release tension, and experience pleasure. By reinterpreting masturbation as a form of self-love, you can begin to build a healthier relationship with your body and its needs. Another key aspect of self-acceptance is understanding that it's okay to be imperfect. No one is exempt from experiencing guilt, shame, or self-doubt at times. And these emotions don't make you any less worthy of love or respect. The journey to self-acceptance is not about perfection, it's about growth. It's about learning to treat yourself with kindness and compassion, even when you fall short of your own expectations. When you release the need to be perfect, you open yourself up to a more compassionate and realistic view of your humanity. Your sexuality is part of who you are, and embracing that part of yourself means accepting both the positive and negative experiences that come with it. As you begin to practice self-acceptance, it's important to incorporate healthy habits and alternatives that support your emotional and physical well-being. One such alternative is mindfulness. Mindfulness can help you become more attuned to your body and your desires without judgment. By practicing mindfulness, you can explore your sexual feelings in a way that is rooted in the present moment, rather than in shame or guilt. Instead of focusing on negative thoughts about your body or sexuality, mindfulness allows you to stay present with your experience, creating space for acceptance and non-judgment. Mindfulness can also be applied to masturbation itself. Rather than rushing through the act or feeling shame afterward, try to approach it with a sense of curiosity and openness. Focus on how your body feels, what sensations arise, and how your mind responds. This practice can help you reconnect with your body in a positive, non-judgmental way, allowing you to experience pleasure without the weight of guilt. Over time, this mindful approach can help you break free from the patterns of shame and guilt that have been ingrained in you. Another powerful tool in overcoming religious guilt is self-care. Taking care of your body, mind, and soul in a holistic way can help you shift your focus from shame to self-love. Engaging in physical activities, such as exercise, yoga, or dance, can help you reconnect with your body in a positive way. Regular exercise not only improves physical health but also boosts mood, reduces anxiety, and increases self-esteem. When you engage in physical activity, you release endorphins, which can improve your emotional well-being and help you build a stronger connection to your body. It's a reminder that your body is not something to be ashamed of, it's something to be celebrated and nourished. In addition to physical self-care, it's crucial to tend to your emotional and spiritual health. This means surrounding yourself with supportive people, engaging in activities that bring you joy, and seeking professional help if necessary. Therapy, especially with someone who specializes in sexual health or religious trauma, can be incredibly beneficial in helping you navigate the complex emotions surrounding guilt and shame. A therapist can help you explore the deeper layers of your beliefs and work through any unresolved emotional issues, providing you with the tools and support you need to heal. Self-acceptance also involves redefining what it means to be a spiritual person. You don't need to reject your faith or beliefs in order to embrace your sexuality. In fact, many people find that their spiritual lives flourish when they embrace their sexuality with openness and compassion. You can find a way to integrate both aspects of your life, cultivating a spiritual practice that supports your sexual health and well-being. By redefining spirituality in a way that honors your body and your desires, you can create a more balanced, fulfilling life. Ultimately, breaking free from religious guilt is about reclaiming your autonomy, your body, and your self-worth. It's about understanding that you are not defined by guilt, shame, or judgment, but by your capacity for self-love, growth, and healing. The journey to self-acceptance is not always easy, but it is deeply rewarding. When you learn to love and honor yourself, you open the door to a more empowered, fulfilling life, one that is free from the chains of guilt and filled with the freedom to embrace your authentic self. Breaking free from religious guilt around masturbation is not just about overcoming guilt, it's about reclaiming your sense of self and stepping into a place of empowerment and freedom. As you move forward in this journey, the goal is not just to shed shame, but to embrace a healthier, more positive relationship with your body, your sexuality, and your spirituality. This process of liberation can be incredibly freeing, but it requires a shift in perspective, a commitment to self-love, and a willingness to let go of the beliefs and societal pressures that have held you back. Understanding how to move forward from guilt without looking back is essential to truly living in your power and embracing your full potential. The first step to moving forward is acknowledging that the guilt you've carried does not define you. It's a lesson in perspective. While the feelings of shame and guilt surrounding masturbation were likely deeply ingrained in you, they are not part of who you are at your core. These beliefs were taught to you, shaped by cultural and religious conditioning, not by the essence of your true self. Recognizing this distinction is vital because it frees you from the notion that your desires are inherently wrong or sinful. You have the power to redefine what is true about you, and that includes loosening any negative beliefs about your sexuality that have been imposed upon you. This realization is a breakthrough moment, one where you start to see that you are not flawed, broken, or sinful for having natural sexual desires. The next step in moving forward is embracing the idea that your sexuality is a natural part of who you are. It's easy to become detached from your body when you've spent years feeling guilty about it. Masturbation, for example, is often seen as taboo or something to be ashamed of. But when you recognize that it is a normal, healthy, and natural behavior, it becomes easier to accept and understand it as a part of your human experience. Your sexuality is not a problem to be fixed, but an aspect of your being that is to be honored and respected. As you embrace this, you allow yourself the freedom to experience sexual pleasure without guilt, without fear, and without shame. This is a journey of healing and self-empowerment. Part of this journey involves dismantling the harmful beliefs that have been instilled in you. Religious guilt often has its roots in teachings that frame certain desires or behaviors, like masturbation, as sinful or shameful. But these teachings are often based on narrow interpretations of Scripture, cultural biases, and traditions that may no longer align with the reality of human sexuality. When you challenge these outdated beliefs, you open yourself up to a broader, more compassionate understanding of yourself. One of the most empowering things you can do is to question the beliefs that no longer serve you. For instance, if you grew up believing that masturbation was a sin, ask yourself, is there a biblical or spiritual reason for that belief, or is it based on cultural interpretations that were passed down to you? By asking these questions, you begin the process of liberation, where you free yourself from the beliefs that have shackled your mind and spirit for so long. In moving forward, it's crucial to practice self-compassion. One of the greatest obstacles in this journey is the internalized self-judgment that arises from years of guilt and shame. You may find yourself slipping back into old thought patterns or feeling guilty after engaging in a natural act like masturbation. These feelings are not a reflection of your inherent worth, they are simply remnants of the beliefs you've been taught. What's important here is how you respond to them. Self-compassion means treating yourself with kindness and understanding, not condemnation. It means acknowledging that you are human, that you will make mistakes, and that you are worthy of love, regardless of your past or any guilt you may still feel. When you approach yourself with compassion, you break the cycle of shame and begin to heal the emotional wounds that have been left behind by religious guilt. Another powerful way to move forward is by building a new, healthier narrative around your body and sexuality. This narrative is one that emphasizes self-love, respect, and understanding. Instead of seeing your body as something to be ashamed of, see it as a vessel that is worthy of care, compassion, and appreciation. Practice affirmations that reinforce this new narrative. For example, tell yourself, "My body is mine to cherish and respect," or "I am worthy of pleasure and connection." Over time, these affirmations will begin to replace the negative messages you've internalized, gradually rewiring your brain to think more positively about your sexuality and your body. This shift in mindset is essential for moving forward without carrying the baggage of guilt and shame. It's also important to seek out supportive environments that affirm your healing and growth. If you've been raised in a community or family where religious guilt was prevalent, it may be difficult to make this shift on your own. Finding people who support your journey of healing and empowerment can make all the difference. Look for communities, either in person or online, that encourage open and healthy conversations about sexuality, self-love, and spiritual growth. Seek out people who embrace their bodies, who celebrate their sexuality, and who understand the complexities of breaking free from religious guilt. These communities will not only help you feel less isolated, but they will also provide you with tools, resources, and encouragement to continue your journey with confidence. Furthermore, therapy can play a pivotal role in your healing process. Speaking with a therapist, especially one who specializes in sexual health or religious trauma, can help you address any remaining feelings of guilt or shame. A therapist can assist you in unpacking the emotional layers of guilt and help you develop healthier coping mechanisms for managing any intrusive thoughts or feelings that arise. Therapy provides a safe space for you to explore your feelings, work through difficult emotions, and learn how to embrace your sexuality without fear or shame. This professional guidance can accelerate your journey toward healing, helping you feel supported as you work through the lingering effects of religious guilt. As you move forward, keep in mind that this journey is not about perfection. It's about progress. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed or discouraged, but it's important to remember that healing is not linear. There will be setbacks, and that's okay. What matters is that you continue to move forward, one step at a time, with an open heart and a commitment to your well-being. Allow yourself the grace to make mistakes, to learn, and to grow. The process of healing is ongoing, and each day is an opportunity to build a healthier, more loving relationship with yourself. By letting go of guilt and embracing your body and sexuality with love and respect, you empower yourself to live a life that is free from shame. This freedom is not just about sexual pleasure, it's about reclaiming your autonomy, your peace of mind, and your spiritual connection. When you stop carrying the weight of religious guilt, you make room for joy, fulfillment, and self-expression. You free yourself to experience life on your own terms, without the burden of outdated beliefs or negative self-judgment. Moving forward is about embracing who you are and accepting yourself in all your fullness, your desires, your needs, and your capacity for love. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of freedom, happiness, and peace, and that your sexuality is a beautiful, natural expression of your humanity. As you let go of guilt and step into this freedom, you create space for the life you truly deserve, one that is filled with authenticity, empowerment, and self-acceptance. Breaking free from religious guilt surrounding masturbation isn't just a matter of changing behaviors, it's about transforming the way we see ourselves, our bodies, and our desires. For many, this journey is one of deep self-discovery, healing, and reclaiming personal power. It involves confronting long-held beliefs, challenging narratives that have been imposed by society or religion, and ultimately learning to embrace your sexuality without shame or guilt. It is a process that takes time, patience, and a great deal of self-compassion. But the reward for doing this work is immense: freedom. The freedom to experience your body and your sexuality in a way that is healthy, positive, and fully aligned with who you truly are. Throughout this journey, the most important thing to remember is that you are not alone. Countless people have faced the same struggle of reconciling religious teachings with their natural desires, and countless others have walked this path and emerged on the other side, not only free from guilt, but with a renewed sense of self-empowerment. The path may not always be easy, and there may be moments when you find yourself questioning your progress or feeling the pull of old beliefs and conditioning. But every step you take towards self-acceptance is a victory. Religious guilt is a powerful force, one that has been used for centuries to control, suppress, and stigmatize natural human behaviors. It's deeply rooted in teachings that often view the body, sexuality, and pleasure as something to be ashamed of. But the truth is that these beliefs are not universally supported by religious texts, nor are they essential to your spiritual connection or growth. The key to freedom lies in recognizing that these teachings, while they may have shaped your view of yourself, are not divine truths. They are interpretations that have been shaped by culture, tradition, and personal biases. When you begin to see this distinction, you open yourself up to a new world of possibility, one where your desires are respected and understood, not condemned. The liberation from guilt is also about understanding that your body is not something to be ashamed of. Your body is your home, and just like any home, it deserves to be treated with respect, care, and kindness. Your sexuality is a natural and healthy part of your being, and masturbation is simply a means of connecting with that part of yourself in a positive way. It's not something to be hidden, suppressed, or punished. It's something to be embraced. Accepting this truth is not about rejecting faith or spirituality. It's about integrating your sexuality with your spiritual life in a way that enhances your overall well-being. Sexuality is not separate from spirituality. It is a natural extension of the human experience, and embracing it fully can help you feel more connected to both your body and your soul. As you continue on this journey, remember that self-acceptance is a lifelong practice. You are not expected to shed years of guilt and shame in an instant. The process of healing from religious guilt is about creating new, healthier thought patterns and understanding that self-love and self-compassion are your birthright. It is about being gentle with yourself when those old feelings of guilt and shame resurface, and reminding yourself that you are worthy of pleasure, peace, and happiness. It is okay to have setbacks, to feel uncertain at times, but what matters is that you keep moving forward, one step at a time with compassion and grace. The more you learn to embrace your body and your sexuality, the more you will find that your entire life improves. You'll experience greater mental and emotional clarity, healthier relationships, and a more fulfilling connection with your spirituality. You will begin to feel more at peace with yourself, free from the constant cycle of guilt, shame, and self-judgment. The more you break free from these limiting beliefs, the more you will realize that there is so much more to life than the false narratives you've been taught. In this process of healing, it's essential to seek out communities that affirm your journey. There's power in knowing that you are not alone, and there is comfort in finding spaces where you can be honest, vulnerable, and supported. Surrounding yourself with people who share your values and your vision for self-love and healing can help you stay motivated and inspired. Whether it's an online community or an in-person support group, finding people who encourage and validate your process is an important part of your growth. It's also crucial to be open to therapy or counseling. Speaking to a trained professional can help you explore the emotional and psychological layers of the guilt and shame that you carry. A therapist can offer you the tools you need to break free from these old belief systems and help you build a healthier, more positive relationship with yourself. Healing is often a complex process, and therapy can provide you with much-needed support and guidance. There's no shame in seeking help. It's a step toward empowerment, and it's an investment in your future happiness and well-being. As you move forward, remember that this journey is not about perfection, it's about growth. You do not need to have all the answers right now, and you do not need to be free from all guilt and shame immediately. This is a lifelong process, and every step you take towards self-acceptance is a step toward greater freedom. Healing is messy, complicated, and deeply personal, and everyone's journey is different. But the one thing that remains constant is the fact that you are worthy of love, of peace, and of sexual expression without shame. It's important to remind yourself that you are not defined by your past mistakes, your feelings of guilt, or your struggles. These experiences are part of your journey, but they do not determine your worth. You have the power to create a new narrative for yourself, one that is rooted in self-love, compassion, and understanding. The guilt that once controlled your life no longer has to be a driving force. It is not a permanent part of who you are, unless you allow it to be. By making the decision to break free from guilt, you are choosing a life of freedom, empowerment, and authentic connection. In conclusion, shedding the religious guilt surrounding masturbation is not just about releasing a single behavior, it's about releasing years of conditioning that have taught you to view your body, your desires, and your sexuality as something to be ashamed of. It's about embracing who you truly are in all your human complexity. And the most beautiful part of this journey is that it opens you up to a life of greater self-love, connection, and peace. You deserve to live a life free from guilt and full of self-acceptance. You are worthy of pleasure, joy, and all the love that comes with embracing your true self. It's time to let go of the shame, step into your power, and live authentically.